On today's adventure, I have to sneak by a military base in order to find a very special fish that was once common to southeast Queensland, but now is only found in a handful of locations. It's rarely been filmed in the wild, and I am determined to at least find one of these amazing creatures. So come along on this adventure and let's see what we can find. I found this vibrant and fascinating plant that at first may look innocent with its lovely red and green color, but don't be deceived. This is actually a carnivorous species of plant called a Drosera, otherwise known as a sundew, because of the sticky, shiny droplets it has that look like morning dew. Sundews can grow in nutrient-poor environments, and these are a perfect example of that, literally growing out of nothing but rock. But that's no problem for the Drosera, which capture insects in those sticky droplets. Most varieties respond to touch and will wrap around whatever touches them until their prey runs out of energy, allowing the plant to eventually digest them. They do this externally using enzymes they produce to break down the insect, which will be absorbed by the glands of the plant. Some species of sundew are even capable of slightly moving. They can be found in various locations throughout the world, including America, Europe, Africa, and Australia. I've only seen these plants a few times in my adventures, usually growing in a rock by a river just like these ones. Now, unfortunately, I had listened to a very stupid man and not brought my camera here the first time I went to this spot, which was the day before when it was sunny and looked amazing. And I saw a lot of fish that time. This time, however, it was raining and I didn't have much hope I'd be able to capture the creature I'd traveled so far to find on film. But look at this. When I put my camera under the surface, there was a school of fast-moving fish, and unfortunately they swam away. But I decided to look in a nearby pool, and I was able to capture these creatures on film. And I was overjoyed. They are, of course, the creature I came here to find. They are the Honeyblueeye. I can't believe I was able to film them. This species has only been filmed a few times in the wild, and most of the footage isn't very clear and doesn't show how beautiful these fish truly are. But here I was, filming them right up close in their natural habitat. The males showing off their fins to the group of females and trying to compete with each other by flashing those beautiful fins. They are one of the smallest species of blueeye. The male Honeyblueeyes have these beautiful yellow-orange bodies with these huge black, yellow, and white-tipped fins. Of course, they also have those distinct blue eyes where they get their name from. But the females could easily be mistaken for the invasive gambusia unless you know what you're looking for. One major difference between them is, of course, a light tinged blue eye. Sometimes it can be very vibrantly blue, sometimes it's just a little bit blue when the light hits them. We will get back to these incredible fish, but I thought I'd try looking in the larger, deeper part of the river and see what was living in this deep, murky water. And we can see some honeys off in the distance, but there's also some other species here. There's a glass shrimp. This one's a female, and you can even see some of her little eggs, which eventually will hatch into tiny shrimp. We have some really beautiful water plants growing here, but there's not that many of them in this river. I kept getting glimpses of the Honeyblueeyes swimming by my camera, coming in to investigate, but then getting startled and darting away. It was very difficult to get a good shot of these fast-moving fish. We can see some empire gudgeons moving slowly in the mid-water, but then off in the distance is a much larger fish than the blueeyes. But those larger fish look like a crimson spotted rainbowfish. And I'm pretty sure that they are. But I keep seeing some rainbow fish that definitely aren't the crimson rainbows. They are something much rarer and actually could be a unique variety of rainbow to this area. Some of these rainbows are, of course, the ornate rainbowfish, which, if you remember, I made a documentary all about trying to find ornate rainbows in the wild, which I'd recommend watching if you want to learn more about what makes these creatures so unique and interesting. Ornate rainbows are incredibly rare in the wild, just like the Honeyblueeyes. They were historically found in creeks all over southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales, but now are only found in a really small number of waterways, and each variety can have vastly different coloured bodies. The few ornate rainbows I was able to film here seem to have a lovely blue shine to their fins, similar to the ornate rainbows I filmed not far from here. I wish I'd seen more of them, but a mixture of the low visibility in the water quality and how fast they moved meant I wasn't able to get a really good look at them. Still, just being able to see the few I did was incredible. They were a bonus, considering they weren't what I came here to find. I decided to head back to the small pool and get a close-up of these little fish, which only get to a maximum of 3 centimeters. And due to how small the Honeyblueeyes are, they mostly eat algae, insects, and tiny invertebrates. This is why they are the perfect fish for a frog pond. They don't eat the eggs or the tadpoles, but will eat mosquito larvae. However, it's illegal to sell Honeyblueeyes, and due to how rare they are, definitely don't take them from the wild. They are so close to being extinct and don't need more problems. Also, their friends and family would be really, really sad. But there are fish enthusiasts like the people at ANGFA, the Australian New Guinea Fish Association, that may be able to give you some of theirs, or there are government programs that sometimes can give you some. I've seen them at the Mount Coot Botanic Gardens, which are run by the government, and maybe if you ask them, they might know where to get some if you want a frog pond that doesn't have mosquitoes in it. I know it's a niche market, but anyway, that's what you can try. It's often really difficult to have a frog pond without mosquitoes, but they are one of the few native fish that are so small they won't hurt the frog's eggs. This creek, despite its appearance from above, is full of native fish, and surprisingly, there aren't any invasive species here, at least not that I saw. It's a really diverse ecosystem, and I hope that it will remain the sanctuary that it is for these 2 rare species that depend on its remoteness for survival. I'm sure being right next to a military base helps as well. But anyway, these schools of Honeyblueeyes were really encouraging to see. This is the first time I've seen them, and I hope to find more in the future. The vast amounts of algae in this creek were perfect for the shrimp, which blend in so well with the background you can hardly see them, and I only notice them move when they dart out of the way as I move my camera past them. It's amazing how the rainbows and the blueyes seem to school together despite their large differences in size and being completely different species. I of course have seen the crimson spotted rainbows and the Pacific blueyes swimming alongside each other many times, so it's quite common for Australian native fish, at least the rainbows and the blueyes, to school alongside each other. It was so cool getting to see these Honeyblueeyes flashing their fins in front of the camera, so I was so happy to be able to capture as much footage of them as I did. It was really interesting seeing the way they'd react in their environment, seeing them in a natural state. I mean, they kind of would get a bit spooked when my camera went near them, but the majority of the time they didn't seem that bothered by it. They were just going about their business, swimming around, flashing their fins. They must require so much food to be able to maintain this level of energy. As you can see, they move constantly. They're always swimming around really quickly. And there was so much freshwater sponge on these rocks, which if you want to learn more about, I've done a documentary all about what makes freshwater sponges cool. Of course, seeing these ornate rainbows was really cool as well. I don't know if this variety's been filmed before. They may not be that colorful, but certainly seeing that vibrant blue when they flash in front of the camera was really cool. They can be a bit hard to tell from the crimson spotted rainbows, but they do have a slightly more streamlined body than the crimson spotted rainbows. And of course, they've got that blue flash and they don't have that bright red dot behind their gills, unlike the crimson spotted rainbows. And this is where things got kind of strange. I saw this wriggling thing in the water, and at first I thought, is that a planaria? They're a type of flatworm that I've seen before, but no. This was something I've never encountered before, at least while filming. And unfortunately, while filming, I can't see what my camera sees. And due to the refraction of light from the water's surface, it's very difficult to know what I'm pointing my camera at. But we can make out that it is in fact an aquatic leech, which decided to try its luck eating my camera. Thankfully, it didn't attach to me and quickly dropped off the camera and disappeared. But what an interesting encounter. This creek just gets better and better, in my opinion at least. I love seeing the ornate rainbows zoom by with the Honeyblueeyes. Two rare fish that I'm so lucky to have filmed, and really glad that there's now more footage of them in the wild for the public to see. These Honeyblueeyes were particularly colourful. You couldn't really get much more colourful than this, and they're the perfect example of a Honeyblueeye that I think I could have filmed. It was raining and it was quite cold, and obviously the sun wasn't out, so we're not getting the best look at these beautiful fish, but any footage of them is better than nothing, and I was happy to have just been able to film them. The sun was going down, so I decided to have a look over the other side, and that involved going back through the slippery, dark tunnel. But I thought I'd have one final look in these pools over the other side and see if there were any Honeyblueeyes in here. And I actually saw this tiny crayfish, but it zoomed away too quickly for me to capture well on film. And over this other side, we can see more crimson rainbowfish. These ones are very colourful. We can see some more Honeyblueeyes flashing their fins, swimming alongside them. Unfortunately, the reason these incredible fish are almost extinct in the wild is the same reason as all the other wonderful creatures that I've been documenting which are struggling. Their habitats have been destroyed for farming, urban development, and everything else humans do to destroy the planet. They also can't compete with invasive species due to how small they are. They're easily eaten and outcompeted for food. If you care about these fish, the best thing you can do is put pressure on the government and your local council to take care of the waterways and what's left of the natural environment, and make looking after our native underwater wildlife and their habitats a priority. Seriously, email them, message them publicly on social media, shout at them, do whatever you can. These amazing creatures have survived for millions of years, shouldn't go extinct because of what we've done. And think of what future generations will think looking back at us when we could have done something to help them, but actively destroyed their habitats and made them go extinct. If you are interested in fish and want to learn more about them, I'd recommend checking out Angling New South Wales. They are the experts on native fish and can answer any questions you might have regarding them. They have meetings and go on field trips and have all sorts of online resources for learning about native fish and how we can help them. Many of which I use to learn about fish that, the information just isn't out there on the internet sometimes, and their resources are really helpful. They're passionate about fish, and if you check out their website, which I'll link below, you can become a member and support them like they've supported me by sponsoring this adventure and a couple others. I'm so thankful for them, and this trip wouldn't have been possible without their help. So that's it for this trip. I hope you enjoyed learning about these amazing creatures and coming along on this adventure with me. And until next time, keep it murky.